Hi, this is Ted again. I'm doing some studio work, and I'm wearing a jacket. This is actually a sailor jacket, and on the side here it has Nautica Challenge, and Ted has definitely been having the challenge of his life. He has never had a larger challenge. In fact, it makes what he tried to do in IT or information technology or the computer and operating systems and software and networks, World Wide Web, um, and technology, what now is communication, including many different handheld devices, what communicate in a really handheld computers, handheld digital cameras, handheld video cameras, handheld communicators, what are sophisticated now with built-in operating systems and even can run software and have built-in computers, and you can do email and you can do text messaging and communicating in voice, and you can have all the things you used to have with sophisticated even PBX systems of voicemail and all of this in a handheld device. And makes the Star Trek communicators looks, primitive. Therefore, this proves to you that technology can be much additionally sophisticated and advanced than humans can even imagine. Therefore, I've been told technology in heaven is currently at least a million years additionally advanced to what we have on Earth even now, what we have on Weevil Earth. I call it now. It's not even a world. It's worse than a world. It's a weevilled. Okay, it's declined further down to a weevil, and on and around and in weevilled earth, our technology is still at least a million years additionally primitive than what they have in what used to be called heaven. Now I'm calling it original heaven because I'm planning on creating other heavens. Therefore, think about this. The Star Trek communicators and even the communicators and things they showed in Star Wars movies and different sci-fi movies about future of space, things in space or other things in space out there are much additionally primitive than we could even imagine when these television programs and movies were getting produced. Therefore, think about the Star Trek communicator, okay, really carefully. And now, even now, with the maximum advanced, handheld device, handheld computer and communicator can do now, including with video, and can take digital cameras, can do email, can do internet, has built-in operating systems. Think about it. Think about the fact that when I tell you I had and have enormously advanced spaceships, what can somehow travel so fast you cannot even believe it or imagine it. It's true. It has to be true. Past the speed of light, many times beyond speed of light. Now, when I tell you spiritual has no speed limits and no distance limits, this something that humans haven't figured out yet and possibly will never figure out. Spiritual, and possibly different dimensions, including to space travel in. It's possible. Think about it. Think about many things what God discovered and or what God created. What humans of Earth you can't even imagine. You haven't even thought of. You can't even think of. You can't even imagine. Therefore, some of these things are enormously advanced. Yet, on the other hand, You have all these enormously great to unrealistic expectations about the second coming of Jesus, and you expect it to be in the clouds with every eye seeing this coming, and the clouds, these clouds of glory, the glory of God, this lightning, this thunder, these earthquakes are nuclear weapons, nukes, atomic bombs, nuclear weapons, nukes, nuclear bombs, nuclear missiles, nukes, plain and simple. Nothing else, actually. Um, God cannot actually change the orbit of Earth and bring it closer to the sun to deliver enough fire to desolate all of Earth, to primarily accomplish the killing to dropping of Satan's demons and spawns, and then all on the down of that side too much. Therefore, the primary targets are Satan's demons, and spawns of Satan, where those were and are and continue to evil clone. Therefore, I, and angels and host, and now an expanded Zost on Ted's side enough, call it spawning. Therefore, why does Ted wear red? Why is Ted wearing red for this coming? Why is Ted showing red? It represents Ted, and all on Ted's side enough, their courage, valor, bravery, honor, courage, valor. Ted and their blood shed. It's a good thing. It shows, it's good. It represents Ted's blood, which has already been shed nearly to his death, at least 2 times or several times now, and them on his side enough, angels, and in Zost, Zost for a parliament, and in Zost expanded host. It represents their blood. It represents different humans' blood and physical living things' blood, and original heaven, and out there in many places their blood. And it's a good thing. It represents valor. It represents courage. It represents bravery. It represents charging. It represents conquering. It represents war. It represents charging. It represents fighting and battling for Ted, or to Ted doing this, and Ted and on Ted's side enough, for good enough to break through motives, for good enough to break through reasons, for good enough to break through things. Therefore, it's worth it. It is really worth it. Ted does complain, and he really gets grumpy these days. Sometimes he gets really grumpy and upset and angry to furious, and I guess, he gets depressed, and sometimes when you're doing this for many years, like Ted's been doing this additional 12 years, you start to get kind of grumpy, or depressed, because you realize things are not change. You can't change things how rapidly you want to change things. It's not easy to conquer, and it's definitely not easy to win. Therefore, Ted realizes this, and sometimes you get depressed, and it makes you kind of grumpy. Ted gets grumpy, and he's also getting older, and he's turning into a grumpy old man, I guess. And this is facing God at 50 years old, a human, He's starting to show his age. He's starting to get gray in his beard, and he's not exactly young currently. He's definitely experienced. He's not inexperienced. He's getting to the point where he's had plenty of experience, not only in the industry Ted was in and possibly is getting into and is going to push to break into again. he's definitely experienced in religion and conquering and doing conquerings and waging, trying to win wars and doing government and doing many different things, politics, and trying to make a huge difference. Ted's been trying to make a huge difference now, years, additional 12 years. Ted's definitely been trying to make a huge difference. And yes, Ted's drinking coffee. He drinks coffee. It's right here, a big coffee mug. See that? It's a big coffee mug of coffee. Ted likes his coffee. It helps treat his depression, actually. Why Ted drinks coffee? Primarily to help treat his depression. And he feels he needs a stimulant, definitely in the morning, to help him get started and help to treat his depression. Therefore, Ted can take all the videos Ted ever did, and some of them are not working real well. They really need to be. Ted's found out some of the current software doesn't import in and even run some of Ted's early videos real well. Therefore, he needs to work on copying all of Ted's videos into a directory of Ted's previously done videos, what are many, definitely additional to 400 now, and what many of them, to nearly all of them, were put out to Ted's digital data disks by this time, and he needs to really import them into and write them out to MP4, the maximum current MP4, and then possibly even put them into Flash, all of them, or many to all of them into Flash, and even possibly put many of them on the internet. He was having problems at YouTube, and after Google acquired YouTube, he was having problems because some were arguing they legally had rights to these videos, including some were arguing they had exclusive rights to these videos, or some were thinking about or secretly maneuvering to get exclusive rights to Ted's videos, even what were put out in public domain and what were put out in Ted's open content license. Some were maneuvering this, and not only because they wanted them, because they wanted to mess with Ted. They wanted to how can we say it, like secure these videos that nobody else could get them and or use them. There were some that were doing this, and after the Google acquired YouTube, there were some what were maneuvering like this, and Ted's saying, if nothing else, sleazy to worse sleazy, or well, what's the other identifier? Sleazy is like for a female or to a woman. What's a slut or a whore or a corporate whore? Many corporate whores. Ted ran into many corporate whores when he was in business. It's all over corporate America. Corporate whores all over Weevil Earth. Corporate whores or business whores, company whores, business whores. And what is he trying to say? Well, just a bunch of,